By the year 200 BC, the mighty Mauryan Empire had collapsed. While native rulers maintained control in the eastern and southern parts of the Indian subcontinent, a massive power vacuum opened up in the northwest. The catalyst that filled that vacuum started thousands of miles away. As the Chinese Empire constructed its border wall, nomadic Scythian tribes were pushed off their traditional lands and forced westward. This created a geopolitical domino effect. The displaced Scythians slammed into the Bactrian Greeks living in modern-day Afghanistan, forcing those Greeks to flee south, crossing the freezing peaks of the Hindu Kush mountains to invade India, and the Scythians quickly followed. These invaders arrived with overwhelming military advantages. They deployed heavily armored cavalry, long lances, and rope toe stirrups that gave horsemen incredible stability in combat. The fractured local kingdoms couldn't compete with this technology. Wave after wave of Central Asian and Greek armies swept away the native resistance, easily establishing total control over the region. Usually, a rapid military conquest by a technologically superior force erases the local way of life. But in this case, the victors did not impose their culture on the vanquished. The conquerors disappeared completely into the culture they had just conquered. Curious, these nomadic tribes were brilliant fighters, but they had a distinct disadvantage when it came to long-term empire building. They arrived without an organized religion or a written script of their own. Indian society at the time was structured by a strict caste system. To integrate these new, heavily armed foreign rulers without breaking the entire social order, local lawmakers created a loophole. They classified the invaders as fallen Kshatriyas, essentially treating them as members of the traditional Hindu warrior caste who had temporarily forgotten their duties. The invaders embraced this assimilation. Greek ambassador Heliodorus commissioned this massive stone pillar in central India to honor the Hindu god of preservation, Vishnu. Look at this gold Kushan coin. It shows the foreign ruler wearing his traditional Central Asian tunic and boots, while the reverse sides of these coins frequently featured local Indian deities, like Shiva or the Buddha. By adopting local languages, scripts, and gods, these kings secured immediate political legitimacy. They were effectively plugging their rule into the existing cultural operating system. The Kushan dynasty, in particular, built a massive economic engine. As this map shows, they controlled the crucial segment of the Silk Road, passing directly through Central Asia and India to the Mediterranean. This is a Roman-style gold coin. The Kushans amassed vast wealth by levying tolls on traders crossing their territory, pulling in huge amounts of Roman currency and melting it down or imitating it to mint their own money. All this cash flooded major towns and caught the attention of local Buddhist monasteries. Monks and nuns who had sworn to live austere lives began accepting massive cash donations from these wealthy traders and foreign kings. Discipline relaxed as the monastics adopted elaborate robes and began eating meat to accommodate their new patrons. This influx of wealth and foreign influence split the religion. A new, more relaxed school emerged to accommodate this reality, calling itself Mahayana, or the Great Vehicle. This sudden concentration of wealth funded a shift toward a more tangible, person-centered faith. As the religion moved away from its austere roots, the abstract symbols of the Buddha were set aside in favor of human statues, images that wealthy patrons could commission and worship directly. A religion founded entirely on the renunciation of worldly possessions adjusted its core practices to align with the realities of imperial wealth and global trade. Fast forward to the 3rd and 4th centuries, and the fierce Central Asian tribes and Bactrian Greeks vanish entirely from the historical record as distinct ethnic groups. They stayed, and they became the primary patrons of the culture they invaded. Foreign kings sponsored the creation of classical Sanskrit literature and commissioned massive local artworks, like this red sandstone statue of the Kushan king Kanishka. The ultimate physical proof of this mutual impact is the Gandhara school of art, where Indian religious figures were carved using Mediterranean aesthetics. The foreign influence is baked right into the stone. The Buddha is depicted with wavy hair and a heavy, draped Greco-Roman toga. Even today, modern Indian culture carries the echoes of these nomadic horsemen. Traditional garments worn across the subcontinent, like the turban, the lightweight tunic, and the long coat, the sherwani, are direct descendants of Central Asian riding attire. Over a span of 500 years, heavily armed foreigners repeatedly marched across the mountains to conquer the Indian subcontinent. But instead of destroying the local culture, they willingly wrote themselves into it.